Hello, and welcome to Gamers Table, a discussion of tabletop role-playing games, war games, movies, books, and other related topics. Be warned, this show may contain some explicit material that may not be suitable for all audiences.
Hello and welcome to Gamers Table. My name is Eric.
This is Mike.
This is Dan.
This is Mark.
This is Jason.
And I am Sean.
This episode we're going to talk about striking it big.
Swing bada bada.
Yep, not that kind of striking it big. Talking about when characters get to a point where they've beaten a big bad. They've got the dragon's treasure hoard.
Not something likely to happen in one of Mike's games.
No.
Kill the dragon,
so
sure.
We're actually speaking not from experience.
No,
in this one.
no experience whatsoever.
Whatever.
Lies.
We've killed plenty of dragons. There's never been any horde to
That's not
speak
true.
of.
That's not true.
Lies.
Lies, Mike! Fucking balls behind it! Lies!
A sack of coppers and a +1 magic sword is not a horde.
No, that's not true. I have been part of a horde that had a considerable amount of copper, and just not too far away was a bunch of lizard men who loved copper.
What about a self-proclaimed character like Lord Vane?
Lord Vane. Are we ruling out retirement?
Yes.
Okay.
No, we're talking about like you have your, let's say in D&D terms, you have your 10th level or 11th level character. You slay your first dragon. Now you have you went from having nothing to having thousands of gold pieces. Now what do you do?
I've never been there.
In D&D, there's still more up. Like
Sure.
a lot more up, particularly if you go into epic level.
Okay.
I mean, it was having...
Why would you want to do that, though? Because that's terrible.
Well, that's only because you weren't there.
Oh, fair. No, I observed. It was terrible.
It does get ridiculous. I mean, there's only these dragons.
Talking about the payoff.
I'm talking about.
I know, but it's
you
like,
get. Let's say, all right, Shadowrun. You do the big job. Now you have this massive street cred. Now what do you do? We're talking. Essentially, what we're talking about is getting to a point where you're getting success, but keeping the campaign real so you don't jump the shark. And then all of a sudden, everything is like not as fun because now you went from being dirt poor Shadowrunner to now I have money. I can do this and do that.
In that case, you just take your big wad and go to Dante's and blow it all.
Well,
Start over.
I mean,
What I was going to say is Shadowrun, if you earn street cred and you're that good, that's when you can tell Johnsons to get bent, and you're not doing that job.
Okay, but that makes it harder for the game master. Now the game master comes up with an adventure. You go, no, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I don't need the money.
Well, then I guess the game master has to find a different hook.
Or he kills you off and makes you start from scratch again.
There's that too.
Forced retirement.
So the point of this whole thing is that there is a point in a game where the perks that you're getting, you can't keep getting the same level of perks
Sure.
Well, no.
because you reach a level of monetary wealth or reputation or things like that where the old stuff doesn't work anymore. Now it's time to transcend, become a different character.
Kind of where I was headed when I was talking about D&D a minute ago. Mm-hmm. In D&D, there's always more up. In Shadowrun type situation, Fuzz actually retired. Fuzz was my first Shadowrun character ever. I built him up to the point where he had Deltaware everything. He had any gun he could ever hope to want or need. I got him up to a certain level, and there was just nothing else I could really do to develop that character.
So you're saying that you got to the point where you had to retire him because there was no more upward mobility.
There wasn't really. I mean, it was just accumulating nonsense wealth. Like, I've got my Wednesday West Wind 2000.
Okay.
So I retired him. I mean, he opened up a merc school in Switzerland, I think.
Okay.
That's the point in time when you start opening things. Like in D&D, it was there was a level when you could really like build a keep, like an old
Right.
D&D, right?
Oh, first edition where you hit 9th level, you became a lord.
Yeah, you became a lord, and then now you get into this next tier of things.
Right.
The thing I like, and it's never come into play, it's probably the economist in me. Let's say you do get that gold dragon horde, which is, let's throw out a number, like 10 million gold.
Okay.
Wow. What would that do to the local
Mike
economy?
is having a hard time conceiving of this.
First of all, in old school D&D, you kill a gold dragon, you're an evil bastard.
Right.
Oh, well,
I'm just
aren't you guys always evil bastards?
No,
This is irrelevant.
We need the gold dragons to
So-
show up and kill Jeremy Irons at the end.
That's right. So let's say you got all this gold. What happens to your little town? Inflation.
Right.
You never get any. You don't.
Everything starts costing
Yeah, you don't
way more.
inject these real world things, and the poor people have tons of gold, but they're still poor.
Right. Yeah, it's like post-war Germany where they were, like they had 10,000 marks in wheelbarrows.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's why you do what we did, and you just sit on it like you become the dragon essentially. You sit on your.
So
own
you're
horde.
saying that there's a point where your character becomes the thing that you destroyed. Not necessarily in.
Well, I know
deed, but-
what happened with us when we played years and years ago. Our characters became, as a group, they became so wealthy that they ended up competing with one another.
That's what I was.
And
pondering.
that's basically
that's
what
true.
happens. You know, you
That'd be
have
kinda cool.
Here you walk into the dungeon with 4 other guys, and you got to split all this gold
Right.
with these 4 other guys, and eventually you start eyeballing each other. And
You know what this
I don't want
reminds
to
me
split
of?
it with these guys.
Yeah, you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of a band. You have a band who has, let's say, or you have a group of characters who have, hey, I went through and I almost died this many times. I did all this damage. I did all of this. The thief hung out in the back and did nothing. The magic user was weak. He hung out in the back and did nothing.
Right.
I think I deserve a bigger share.
Isn't that how things kind of went in older D&D editions? It was like you got experience not necessarily based on, well, there's 4 people in the group, so we're going to split it.
The
4 ways.
old school XP, yes. It was a different for like level 1 for like a thief was like 1100 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Right.
And then but fighters it was more.
But I'm talking about the actual XP award.
Oh, like from the game master.
Because like you would get
Like a monster was worth so much, a thief who steals a piece of gold was worth
everybody had
value.
incentive.
curing
Roll
so many
Master
hit
does
points
the same
of
Right.
right.
Yeah, like an old school thief, if you got a dragon hoard, would instantly be like 20th level maxed out
Right.
and rich,
For every gold piece he stole, he got like an experience
Right.
point and all that stuff.
which clearly didn't work because we haven't seen it in how many editions?
Right.
Well, that's kind of what it's like. I never got to really play the older editions of D&D. I would have loved to have, become a lord at 9th level and have a keep and whatnot, and then raise an army and do
It's
something.
really not as cool as you think it is.
Well, that's the thing, though.
It's a lot of bookkeeping.
I think that's part of my problem with the dungeon crawl after dungeon crawl after dungeon crawl. It was like you've just gotten done with the dungeon crawl. You come back, you've got whatever treasure you found. You sell off some of the loot that you found because you don't need it. You've gained a level, and then the next dungeon crawl it's a little harder because it has bugbears this time.
Well, I agree with you. I do think that's the way we've been playing the last decade or so. Our characters aren't really very sedentary. They don't have a base of operations. They tend to be wandering, especially when we did the adventure pass. We never had a place where we could sit down and stay and do something.
Right.
And I think that's kind of where we've done ourselves a bit of a favor playing the campaign that we're doing or had been doing, and that was the Sea Princess campaign. Mm-hmm. Our base of operations goes with us. Yeah. We're on a boat. And we're able to do those things. Now, we're not fixing up a mansion or building a castle or something like that, but we can move from the small boat that we're on to a bigger boat.
I think the treasure distribution was totally different in that campaign, though, because you were allotted amounts because
Sure.
Mike was using the old what system was that called? The Prince's system or the treasure distribution system on a ship?
Yeah, it's like the Prince's Code or something.
Yeah,
like that.
and so you only were allowed a certain amount. I mean, we ended at what level?
6.
6th level?
Yeah.
We ended at 6th level. In comparison, a 6th level character in another campaign probably would have had 3 times the amount of gold that my
Sure.
character had.
Oh, absolutely.
So
and,
we
and twice as many magic items,
right.
I'm sure.
Mike really toned down the monetary awards by making it you were only allotted a certain amount that you brought in.
What Mike is doing, I think, consciously or unconsciously, is he's pushing the end game further away.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, and that's one of the other points of this topic is sometimes you get the game master who throws. It's like, okay, you get to a point where your characters are making so much money, I'm gonna just throw some more money at you, and then it gets out of control.
Right.
The old Monty Hall, GM, DM, that kind of thing, where sometimes you feel obligated to reward the players for what they've done, but then the rewards become cheaper and cheaper in actual value. Going back to the economy thing that you were talking about, I like the idea of that.
I'm not sure I've actually seen that implemented, though.
But I would love to implement something like
Sure,
that,
yeah.
where, and like you said, where you instead of like just all of the villagers all of a sudden now have gold everywhere.
Well, we could do that in the Sea Princes, hypothetically. We could all be rich sailors, and we could go to some dirt poor port, and just dump tons of gold into it. And now that port has a completely different makeup.
Right, that's
and
true.
Probably we have destroyed it.
But the other thing I was thinking of is in like putting
that's what it happens.
Putting a real world spin on it. You have all this money, especially like a lawful good paladin or a lawful good cleric or something like that. You come into a whole lot of money, and then all of a sudden, just like winning the lottery, people start showing up and asking for stuff.
Hey, I adventured with you when you were second level.
Yeah,
buddy.
And I, oh, my mom's sick. I need this. I need that. To implement something like that, where like NPCs are coming out of the woodwork asking you for money.
Right.
That's a good idea.
An alignment change coming my way.
Totally off. Well, I mean, it's on topic, but it's not about gaming. How you have those conversations about what would you do if you won the lotto.
Right.
My response is always, I would be a terrible rich person because I would be.
Well, along those same or similar to that, I guess you said NPCs would show up or they would come out of the woodwork, or you could do what I did, and you can go back and find those NPCs that you screwed when you were a first or second level character, and go back and try and make amends.
That's an interesting concept.
I did that a few times.
Is that
but
the-
that's me, Jason, who feels guilty about something crappy that he did.
My name is Earl.
Skeeter.
Right.
The My Name is Earl
It was
campaign.
karma. It was karma.
We start out as 20th level characters pursuing the people that you had wronged.
That is an interesting concept.
Work backwards, like work down to first level.
Every
not
adventure
play.
is you going back.
Well, that would
and
be like
atoning for
Brewster's
something.
Millions. You got to spend all your money.
Yeah.
To get more.
That's right.
That's a good movie. I like that movie.
Agreed.
Going back and apologizing to the guy whose dungeon you just looted. I don't know about all that.
No, I don't. No, that's not what I mean. I'm talking about the people who you had to step on to get where you're at.
I never stepped
So
on
Lord
that,
Vane would have to go through and give back all the horses he
Or just
took.
buy new horses for people who stole. Yeah.
Here's the money I owe you for that horse I stole.
Plus
Well, like
interest.
I had a character that killed a city guard at at a low level, and that actually Mike kind of actually brought that back as a story arc later in that character's career.
It's because Mike likes to push those buttons.
Sure, he does.
Eric did the
Absolutely.
same thing in that first Shadowrun game.
Yeah.
Skeeter.
Yep. That's true. Yeah. And my character took care of that.
That's really
that kid's family
but
too.
That's guilt and things like that. You really need to know the player when you're doing stuff like that, because if you have somebody who really doesn't give a damn,
Doesn't matter.
those buttons don't work.
Some people don't have buttons. They're called sociopaths.
Yes.
Pretty sure.
Hello.
Yeah, that wouldn't have bothered any character I ever made. I'm like, yeah, I killed that guy.
Well, I think those big treasures ruin the game. To me,
And that's the point I was trying to make.
you know,
sometimes I
what,
think that's true.
What do you do? Okay, or you just take all your money, be a philanthropist, and you build a keep, or you build a magic college if you're a wizard or whatever, and then essentially what you're doing is you're throwing your money away to start from scratch again.
Yeah, that's like I said, you go to Dante's and blow it all.
That's right. Hookers and
Right.
below.
And he's retired, which he's
Yeah,
that
but
character.
I mean,
you know.
you're reaching for that golden ring, and once you have it, you realize that the journey was what was more fun than actually achieving your goal.
As long as it wasn't a dungeon crawl.
I don't mind a dungeon crawl once in a while.
I think
That's
that
still my favorite adventure.
I've got a hatred building up.
No, really?
Yeah.
I don't think you've hashed this out yet.
Shut up.
It's a gamer's table drinking game. When does Mark hate something? Drink.
We should do that at Gen Con.
I have not
drunkest
brought up
fans ever.
hating dungeon crawls nearly as much as Jason has brought up Valcon
Yes.
ever.
And you know what? I've actually talked about him 4 times tonight, and I've not mentioned his name once.
But that's
Well,
what
you didn't
I'm
have
saying.
to.
You didn't have to.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So talk about
I can't help it. I have a cooler character than you do.
Here's my thing. Attaining wealth as a player should initiate some kind of paradigm shift within the game that you're playing. I mean, it's like once you've gotten your dragon hoard in whoever's game you're running, and it's an actual dragon hoard with money in it,
not copper cups.
right?
Okay.
And then you go from being a player who goes on the next dungeon crawl to get whatever else loot it might be in that dungeon.
right.
Then maybe you do change the paradigm of the game. Maybe you do put down roots sometimes. Like that's what
Right.
I think should happen.
Become the NPC or become the benevolent lord. Heaven forbid.
Right. Or something like that. Or the not so benevolent lord.
The evil wizard
Well, I
in the
think-
tower.
There's a problem in D&D with that. I think we glaze over the cumbersome nature of treasure sometimes.
Yeah, we never really deal with
because
encumbrance.
I think we should.
a chest full of gold
It's heavy.
heavy.
would be hard enough
Money-
to keep track of. Much less
Cash
a
is
dragon
heavy.
full of
Yeah,
gold.
cash is heavy. Let alone coin.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, Mike, we do have ready access to portable holes,
No.
bags of holding.
No.
Nah.
But see, then your treasure's going down then when you get that stuff. And another quirk of D&D I like about treasure, when you have too much treasure, when you're converting it, copper and silver, that's, I'm too good for that. You convert all the gold and then you got too much gold. Oh, I'm too good for that. Convert it to platinum and gems. Then you go to the bar, try to pay with a gem. Oh, I can't take that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
It's like
platinum
trying to.
goes,
It's
"Oh,
like
that's
going
too
to a
Well,
fast
that's
food
when you
restaurant
buy
and
the bar and then drink for free.
Well, this is a reference I think only Mark is going to get. Realistically, what would happen would be like what